Hello. Today I'm going to discuss the U.S. raising tariffs on foreign steel and aluminum under Trump's presidency and the potential consequences of that. So, first off, President Trump has pushed for protecting steel since his candidacy, and he's advocating this under the guise of national security, claiming that we need to boost our steel and aluminum production in order to enhance our military. According to the president, the goal is to incentivize U.S. companies to buy U.S. produced steel and aluminum in order to strengthen domestic industry. The purpose of this is to save jobs in addition to protecting national security. The U.S. needs steel and aluminum industries to have metals for F-18 and F-53 jets and armored military vehicles. The hope is that more unionized steelworking jobs would be brought back to the U.S. with about $20 per hour pay. However, manufacturers and those that actually move the foreign steel could get hurt by this. So as it stands, steel employment rates have been steadily decreasing since the 1950s. This can be attributed to our increase in imports and also the increased automation in the manufacturing process. But when a country imports a resource like steel, there's going to be fewer production jobs and more service-based industries and manufacturing. So instead of producing the steel, there's going to be jobs focused on like moving the steel, for example. Additionally, primary manufacturing jobs create more jobs in their wake. So there's going to be more jobs casting the steel into parts, for example, and then even more jobs than that assembling those parts into something else. Ultimately, the manufacturers are going to be more adversely affected than the handful of workers benefiting. Also, we've seen this before in 2009 when Obama imposed taxes on Chinese tires, but we ended up losing about 3,000 jobs in other industries and gaining only about 1,000 jobs in the primary industry. So consequences. First is the idea of price increases. Trump's idea is that price increases will result in a greater profit for U.S. producers who will then make more steel and aluminum and employ more people. However, this price increase is usually passed down onto consumers. Next, there could be and is actually retaliation. Large trade powers like China, the EU, and Canada can strike back by either filing a formal complaint with the World Trade Organization, which is a long process, or much more quickly, they can impose tariffs against us, which creates a trade war. Lastly, this can jeopardize Trump's promised 3% growth. Though he's been on track for this, he's targeting an industry that can harm our growth by affecting major industries that we depend on, like aerospace. Also, we are our own largest driving force in our economy, so a rise in prices doesn't really bode well for us either. So retaliation across the globe. So if we look at the EU first, we're already seeing threats there. Malmström, the EU Trade Commissioner, has threatened to increase duties on many U.S.-produced products like peanut butter, for example, and bourbon. And she has also pointed out that she knows this is an economic safeguard under the guise of national security, because let's be honest, we aren't really under any severe threats, so it's hard to make the national security argument. Also, these U.S. imposed tariffs would endanger EU jobs, so the EU would have to retaliate to prevent job loss. And as of March 22nd of this year, there was a pause put in place that exempts the EU, Brazil, Mexico, and other steel producers we buy from these imposed taxes. That is for everyone except China. So as of recent, like in the past couple days, China has instated heavy tariffs on U.S. goods. This is a 25% tariff on about $50 billion worth of U.S. exports, including aircraft, cars, soybeans, chemicals, and more. And this is raising the fear of a trade war, of which nobody is bound to win. Experts say that this is an effort to move the U.S. into negotiations. You have Aiden Yao, who states the purpose is not to escalate it to a trade war, but to demonstrate no weakness. So there is time before any of these tariffs actually go into effect, which would be the ideal time for negotiations. However, if these talks fail, there's potential for a trade war to begin.